So today we are working on the '01 Impala. We're doing a little bit of beater maintenance. The front brakes on this car was owned by some elderly people. I guess they rode brakes. And the front brakes are really warped. I was actually looking on Facebook Marketplace, and that's what these are. They are prime choice rotors and brake pads. So I got them for $12 for everything. So this is some of the tools that you're going to need. They do make an actual kit to push the piston of the caliper back in, but your old brake pad and a C-clamp works the same. So the lug nuts are 19 millimeters. Let me go ahead and jack the car up and I'll show you what the next step is from that point. Lighting's kind of bad, but once you pull the wheel off, this is what you're left with. There's a bolt here and there's a bolt right there. They're both 15. That takes the caliper off. You might have to put a screwdriver in there and pull it out. And then there's a 15 there and one directly down below there, right there. And that will pull the caliper bracket off. And then of course as you can see, the rotor is just kind of held on there with all of the caliper holder and brake pads. So let me take that off and I'll show you what it looks like with just the holder. So like I said, just put a screwdriver in there, wiggle it. Sorry again for the bad lighting. Make sure that you put the caliper up somewhere you can hang it on the strut. Just make sure that the rubber brake line going to it isn't twisted, or make sure that doesn't drop, because you'll have to replace the rubber line and then bleed the brakes. But your brake pads just sit in there, and then front and top. And then always check. Sometimes these have different brake pads for the back, but let me take the two bolts off to hold it, and then we'll look at the rotor, compare it to the new one, just to make sure that the $12 Facebook find is right, and then should be good to go. So there's the hardware for the, these go to the caliper holder, and then these actually go in the caliper itself. It's always a good idea. These are a slide style, so as you turn, go around corners, stuff like that, these do move. These are always a good idea to re-grease up and clean if there's any rust or anything. They're not in bad shape, but I always use this stuff for any of the sliders. And then I also, this is the caliper holder. So this would look like this. So when I actually put the brakes back in, I'm going to put the new pads in it once the rotor goes on. And then I'm going to set it like this. That way I'm not trying to fight it from the front. It's just easier to load it this way. But I don't think these cheap brake pads that I have the new hardware, like the metal slider. So I'll clean up any rust or any buildup like that on there, and then also grease that. And I always put a little bit of grease on the back of the brake pad, just where the piston goes. That way there's no noise or anything. You don't need a whole bunch, just a little bit goes a long way. So this is what it looks like after you take the caliper holder off. Like I said, some vehicles have a set screw. This one does not. So this one just comes off just like that and goes right back on. So let me pull the new stuff out. Let me compare real quick, and then we'll start to put it back together. Sorry this isn't a longer video, but it's just brakes. It's really not that difficult of a job. And as long as you have a jack stand, some basic tools, pretty much anybody can do this. So I did almost forget to show you. There's the part number. There's the brand. I think this is eBay or Amazon, maybe both. I did compare the brake pad to one of the old ones. It's the same. The brake pads I was most worried about. I already looked up the part number. This box has never been opened, but I mean, even at $12, it's not a bad find. I think brake pads alone for this car are like $23, $24. So it's a pretty good find. It's what I try to do for most of my beaters, because I don't want to spend the money. So just setting these on me, I wanted to compare and make sure the diameter and everything was the same, because I didn't actually originally purchase these. So I think everything should be good. I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the plastic now, and then there is a good rule of thumb on this so it doesn't smell or stink. there's oil coating on this, and you can use just simple brake parts cleaner to clean this. If not, they'll stink a little bit and it might even smoke. The point of the oil in there, so while these are sitting on the shelf, it's not rusting or anything. So I have no idea how old these are, and they're going on the car no matter what. They're better than what I had. So the old stuff wasn't that bad. There was a little bit of a lip, and some grooves, but I've had worse brakes, but it shook really, really, really bad. I mean, you could feel the ripples on the front, and even the brake pad life was probably at half, but I just got tired of it shaking all the time. It was one of the most annoying things about this car. Like, it didn't even matter if they were hot. As soon as you started braking, they would just shake. So let me put this rotor on just to make sure it fits around the studs, and I'll clean it up real quick before I put everything else on. Rule of thumb, you should always anti-seize everything before it goes back on, especially if you're in a rust belt state. This car has no rust at all. So let me get this out and we'll check to make sure it fits. So oil's all cleaned off of there, and then brake pads have been removed. This is the old brake pad. Like I said, it's not the worst thing ever. It was really, really warped. I assume they were old. I know for sure they were old. I guess they rode the brakes, but this is the new ones loaded up. I'll put a little bit of grease on this backside where the piston goes. These pads are not side specific, and it doesn't matter if it goes front or back. So let me grease up the bolts to go back into the hub, and then we'll start putting this back on. This side, as you can tell, had a new wheel bearing put on. So save the old brake pads though. You can use those to push the piston back in with the C-clamp, which I'll show that in a minute. But there is, like I said, I do have the tool, but this works just as good. There's nothing wrong with doing this. So let me get this bolted up, and then we'll get the piston pushed back in. Okay, so the bracket's back on. I don't have the torque specs for this. I just usually go till it's tight. So it is aluminum, so you don't have to go crazy strong, but it also holds your brakes on, so you want to go tight enough. I usually go until I can't anymore, and then that's pretty good. I guess the proper thing to do would be to torque it, but I've never done that. So this is why I said hold on to your brake pad, the old brake pad. Do not use the new one for this. The goal of this is to push your piston back in so you can fit it over the thicker brake pads and thicker rotor now. Don't push it on the, I can't even think of what it's called now, I'm sorry. So the fitting back here is to bleed the brakes. And then of course this is for the rubber line. So of course you want to stay clear of any of that. Let me see if I can do this with one hand. I might not be able to. See if you can watch it. I might have to put the camera down with two hands, but basically, you don't want to force this back in, but it is going to give you a little bit of resistance. All right, I'm gonna have to put the phone down, and then I'll show you what it looks like once it's compressed. Okay, so that's what you're going for. Like I said, it's because everything's thicker. Again, sorry about the really, really bad lighting. There's nothing I can do about it. Once that's on there, or once that's pushed back in, make sure your rubber brake line isn't in the way, and then just push it back on. You might have to wiggle it to get it in the spot. And of course, these rubber grommets for where the slider goes, make sure that's aligned. You'll have to pick up on it a little bit, and then you might have to wiggle both the top and the bottom to get those rubber grommets. That is like a dust shield or a dust boot, so nothing gets in the slider like road dirt and stuff like that, and they don't freeze up, and you won't get uneven brake pad and stuff, or, you know, wear on the rotor or brake pad. So the sliders just go right back in there. Like I said, you'll have to fish it through the, might have to do that with two hands. It's hard to film with one, but you might have to pick up on it a little bit just so you can get it into the right spot. But pretty much done after this. So let me finish this up real quick, and then we'll finish the video. So there you go. Brakes are done. Make sure everything's tight. Make sure the brake line, the rubber hose back there isn't twisted. Make sure that the rubber dust boots are not twisted. And then that's pretty much it. Just put the wheel back on, put anti-seize on the lugs, and then torque the wheel down to, I believe it's 85 or 90. And then you're good to go. Whenever you do pull the car out, before you pull the car out, you should pump the brake. Your brake pedal is going to go to the floor for a little bit, and then after about 3 or 4 pumps, it will return to normal. And then whichever process you choose to bed these in, I would do that, and you're good to go. So like I said, it's not a difficult job by any means. Basic tools, and you're good to go. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any comments or questions, or if you think there's a better way of doing it than the way that I've done it, comment below, and me or my brother will get back to you.